I'm Dr. Sam Roome, co-founder of Hello Bio. Today, I'm with Dr. James Quinn from Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. And we're going to talk about that important transition from PhD to postdoc. And we're also going to chat about this new norm of virtual conferences and presentations. So, hello, James. It's been a while since we spoke to you, and a lot has happened in the last year or so. It would be great if you could start by briefly introducing who you are, where you're based now, and what you're working on at the moment.
So firstly, I'd like to thank you, Sam, for giving me the opportunity to come and talk a little bit about what I've done before and what I'm doing now. So as you can tell by my accent, I'm originally from the UK. I was born and raised in Kent and then moved to Manchester for my PhD, where I worked on tau proteolysis in different forms of dementia. After completing my PhD, I then took a postdoc offer to come out here to Boston to work at Massachusetts General Hospital as affiliated with Harvard Medical School. So my project is looking at neuropeptides. So these are signaling molecules in the brain, looking at them in the cerebrospinal fluid of patients with dementia, as well as in the brain of patients with dementia, to see if we can identify novel biomarkers for disease. We've got some really interesting data showing they could be potential biomarkers. So I'm kind of coming in and doing a lot of the cell and molecular biology experiments to really kind of push through the mechanistic understanding of these neuropeptides, and then also pushing some of the biomarker work too.
So it's only been in the last year that you've made the transition from PhD to postdoc, and you've moved countries during that time. What's that experience been like, and what's been the biggest adjustment for you?
So after finishing my PhD, I was very fortunate. I'd been planning to go traveling after finishing my PhD, and so that was the end of 2018. So I kind of packed up my bags, went traveling around South America for a month, which was an incredible experience. And I'd really recommend, if you are able to, after finishing your PhD, have some time just for yourself to go traveling. And I also worked as an assistant in like a consulting company for 5 or 6 months. So that was a really interesting experience while I was trying to, just before I went traveling, before I had my Viva, and then before transitioning into the postdoc. So originally I'd meant to be going out to Sweden to start a postdoc, but there was some admin issues, and it just kind of never kind of turned from that initial offer into the position where I would start. And then kind of during that interim period, I got reached out to by Dr. Becky Carlisle, who is my boss now at MGH. And she'd met me at Alzheimer's Association International Conference in 2018 in Chicago. Really liked what I'd done, and we set up a little collaboration between Manchester and MGH. So that was really exciting. And she reached out and said, "We've got this project. We think you'd be a really good fit. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Well, I haven't got a postdoc right now, so it's something that I kind of was missing the lab. Like, doing consulting was really enjoyable, but I love the people I was working with, but I just missed that lab work." So I reached out to her. We had an interview kind of February 2019, and then they offered me the position kind of as soon as I got back to the UK. And that was an amazing opportunity to come out and have the interview. So I moved out May 2019. So I've been here for a year and 2 or 3 months now. And it's just been an incredible opportunity. Fortunately, I was able to move out before COVID and all of the current visa issues and everything that's currently affecting the US, which was very fortunate for me. But it's been an amazing opportunity to come out here and work at a great institution like Mass General. There's some really fantastic research going on, and I've joined like a real good hub of researchers. So I think the biggest adjustment has just been the moving abroad, and obviously COVID. So, I mean, I was able to go home to the UK, I think 2 or 3 times last year, but I haven't been able to go back because of COVID. And my parents are meant to come out, but they can't come out. So I think that's definitely been the kind of biggest adjustment. But thank everything for the wonders of technology that I'm able to call my family kind of every week. So that's really nice, and just be able to see them, and we sometimes eat dinner together, or we'll have drinks together or something like that. So that's definitely been probably the biggest adjustment. But kind of moving out of here, I think when I look back at it, moving out here was stressful, but compared to right now, it just seems like eons ago. So yeah, that's definitely been the biggest adjustment period, is the right now.
So following on from that, what do you wish you'd known when you'd finished your PhD that you think would help other early career scientists to know?
I think, well, quite a few different things. So I think the first thing is, I'm so glad that my friend kind of pushed me to book traveling. We'd always planned to go traveling together kind of after I finished my PhD. He wasn't in the PhD program, and the fact that I was so stressed in like September when I was trying to write my thesis as well as plan a trip, like a month-long traveling trip. I was really stressed out at that time, but I was so glad that I kind of had that thing at the end of the end of the tunnel, you know, like I had something to look forward to when I finished. So that was definitely something that really helped. And knowing that I had a job lined up, so that really helped with my supervisor, because there was always the opportunity to extend my PhD, but I was like, well, I've got a job in a consulting firm starting October 1st. I need to get my thesis submitted. I can't go into that job and still have the thesis kind of overhanging me. So that was a really good incentive to get everything finished up. It was stressful, I'm not going to lie, but it definitely gave me that kind of motivation to get everything finished. And I think it was healthy for me to spend a little bit of time outside the lab and realize that I definitely missed the lab work. I missed that kind of working on my own project and pushing my own data, or data that my collaborators had generated. Whereas I felt like in consulting, it was very different. We were kind of helping these pharma companies kind of use their data that they had in order to help price their drugs, for example. So it's a very different kind of avenue of research. So yeah, that was and then I'd say the third thing is really finalizing those postdoc offers. It was just unfortunate with what happened with Sweden. But I had, I think, 5 or 6 postdoc offers, but I was very selective over which ones that I wanted to kind of go forward with. And I think really having the opportunity to come out here, so everywhere that I kind of had accepted, I visited. Obviously, that's very difficult to do right now, but you can learn a lot through Zoom. I know we've interviewed 2 new postdoc candidates for a position that one hopefully will start in October, and then the other might start at the end of the early next year. So for them, it's definitely very different, but they interviewed my boss's boss, they interviewed everyone in the lab. So I think you can learn a lot about what's going on in the group through those sorts of meet and greets with everybody. And I was very much of the mindset, I want to go somewhere where I have some form of connection. I had a few friends out here in Boston already who they did study abroad at my university during my undergraduate. So I had a few contacts already kind of down on the ground here, which definitely helped. So I think really like you're looking not only at the supervisor, but also the place and the project as the 3 kind of main things when you're looking for that transition. I know it's obviously very hard right now. I'm hearing some horror stories about people who are trying to move over to America right now for postdoc offers. But I think really getting a solid understanding of immigration, solid understanding of your offer, everything around that kind of the move, the transition over, and obviously taking advantage of all people who've done it before. There's some really good communities out there. Just look on Twitter. I'm always happy to help people who are looking at moving over to the US. And I think really just taking advantage of your supervisors' networks and all of those things. Because I think the majority of the offers that I got were from interactions that I'd kind of generated myself, be it at conferences, be it on Twitter, be it just seeing job adverts kind of online and then reaching out to the PI. And I think that's probably it. It's quite a lot of advice, but I'm going to break it down in short. So in short, it's going to be having a bit of time after your PhD to kind of just relax, having that kind of carrot on the end of the stick, which is like, okay, I have to submit my thesis in order to start the next thing, which was super helpful for me. And third, really getting like the postdoc offer finalized in writing, everything done before you kind of think about that kind of transition. And fourth, just look after yourself. Like it's super important you look after your mental health. I was like, it was tough writing my thesis. I'm not going to lie, it was a tough time for me, but there are people out there who can help and never be afraid to ask for help.
That's fantastic advice. Thanks for that, James. Obviously this year, due to COVID-19, you touched upon it already, all scientific conferences have either been cancelled or moved online. Last month, you presented a poster at the first virtual AAIC. How did the experience of presenting a postdoc online differ from presenting in the real world?
There's definitely pros and cons. I've been thinking about it a little bit. I'm fortunate it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago where I presented the poster. They had the opportunity to record you speaking over your presentation, over your poster, which was really nice. So you could either upload a PDF or upload you describing your PDF. So that was a really good opportunity. I would recommend, if you can, do like a little presentation, because it gets people to kind of hear your voice, and it allows you to kind of talk someone through the poster in 2 or 3 minutes, which was really advantageous. I got some good feedback, and a few people kind of interacted with me based on the poster. And I think it was the first virtual conference, so there were some kind of issues where people would ask you a question, but they wouldn't be able to see when you'd responded. But kind of outside of that, I think the biggest advice would just be, well, I put a photo of myself on a poster, which I hate doing, but it was very helpful because they're not seeing you in person. And then also just having your data to be as clear as possible, because it's not like when you're at in a conference hall where something will just catch your eye. You very much have to go in and click on all the individual posters. So I think it requires people, like, if you just have a very clear, concise poster. I also put my poster on Twitter. I talked to my boss and she was like, yeah, I'm happy if you share it. So I was able to do like a tweet summary of my poster, which it just made it a bit more accessible, and people who weren't at the conference were able to just click on it and see the poster and then what I kind of described about the poster as well. And it was good. My dad was able to take a look, and he wouldn't have been able to attend because I think they said something like 5,500 people went to LA, which is where the conference was last year, but 32,000 people had registered this year because it was virtual and it was free. So the opportunities that gives for people who wouldn't normally be able to jump on a plane and fly to Europe, which it would have been this year, or to America, which was last year, it really kind of opened up the conference. So it was definitely a different experience, and it was definitely easier than presenting at a conference, whereas a conference you're just standing there by your poster waiting for a couple of hours just to see if anyone walks by. But this definitely kind of allowed you to take a step back and just check on your poster every day to see if someone had put a comment on. So that was extremely helpful. But yeah, I definitely missed the conference, being there in person, but I appreciate the fact that more people were able to attend. So there's a pros and cons, definitely.
So what's the biggest piece of advice you would give for online presentations, do you think, taking into account all your experience?
I think, yeah, the first definitely would be, if you can do a presentation with your voice or with your camera on, definitely do it instead of just uploading the PDF directly. I also would think, again, having that data really clear, but then you've also got to, like, because it's not like when you're at a conference, people will be walking past and just spot something that they're interested in. People will be going in and keyword searching. That's what I was doing. I was searching the things I'd normally search on PubMed on the poster abstract list to see if anything came up that I would be interested in. So I feel like the people who are interested are going to find your poster and click on it. So I think you can go in a little bit more detail than you would at a conference, because you're not really kind of trying to get people who are just walking on by to take a look at it. You're saying the majority, there was a lot of posters at that conference. No one's going to be going through and clicking on every single one individually to see if they're interested in it. So I think just having it kind of accessible, but you can probably get away with putting a little bit more detail in than you would at a kind of normal conference. And I'm trying to think if there's any kind of specific advice. I think obviously the classic things that you would do with a normal poster: get your boss to look at it, get some of your friends to look at it, get some of the other lab mates of yours to take a look, and really just kind of take the input and advice from people around you.
Can you finish up by telling people how they can contact you or connect with you online if they'd like to?
Yeah, so feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @tweetwithquinn, Quinn, or you can reach out to me by email, which is jquinn14@mgh.harvard.edu. I'm happy to talk about my project in a little bit more detail. And also, I should add, I'm kind of helping organize this conference for Protein Tech, which is an early career researcher conference in neurodegeneration, so obviously very relevant for the work that I'm doing. And I think the abstracts are due in a couple of weeks' time, and the conference is going to be on the 22nd of October. So that'll be a really good way of kind of getting involved in the conference. And then I'm also taking part in a chatathon, which is being organized by Dementia Researcher in the UK, where they're trying to raise money for Alzheimer's Research UK by getting 55 researchers in to come and talk about their research for 12 hours. So feel free to check in on any of those platforms, and I'll be talking a little bit more detail about my project and other things going on.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much again, James. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you.